I'm ready.
Okay.
응답하라 여친. Go into the shit.
Back to the kyung to the Jew. Hey. So we have such different feeds.
Yes, we
And
do.
whenever you're like, oh, my feed's so boring, but like, what's going on in your feed?
Yeah.
And I said, oh, it's all about Fanita on my TikTok feed. And you're like, who?
I'll go on to your TikTok sometimes, and I don't know what you're referring to. Like, I have zero context.
What was the last thing?
It's like some kind of rant, but and like I heard the name Fanita, but I have no idea
ranting. That's
where
for sure.
in the TikTok landscape this is referring to.
And this is so funny because you'll be like, I don't know what to talk about, and I'll be like, I have so much to talk about. I'm always so right now my feed is all about Fanita.
Okay. Who is, what kind of content does she do?
She is a young Black woman who is very opinionated. And I find personally very opinionated. I find her very funny. A lot of like clap back content.
Yeah.
Like, but I don't think that I followed her because I didn't realize who she was. That there was like so much backstory to. I was like, oh, this is like the same person. I thought, this is just this funny person.
The TikTok year is
so
much
much
happens. It's
so much.
So fast.
So I now put it all together. So now I can tell you, I think because you're in the influencer world of at least like working with brands, you probably heard about the Tarte story.
Yes, which was like a PR just fail on so many levels.
So Tarte is a makeup brand that sends out influencers to trips, and you've done these kind of trips. Like
I've done one trip, and I just felt so lucky to go.
Yeah, exactly. You felt
I'm like,
lucky.
why did they? How was this a mistake?
How many people were in that girls' trip?
I think it was in total 7 or 8 of us.
How
and
many
it was a
girls were
white? There were 4 of us that were not white. So I would say it was half and half.
Okay,
because
so
it was for Shark Beauty, and they were
doing like
hair product, but their whole campaign was for all hair. All
types.
Hair kind.
Yes.
Like all human kind, all hair kind.
Yes.
So they were pretty mindful about human hair.
Yeah, I hope human hair.
But that was why there was, it felt like it was a pretty diverse group.
How would you feel, or did you feel? Oh, actually, and this is the trip that you had Bobby.
Yes.
Bobby was on your trip. What's her name?
Bobby Altoff.
Yeah,
but
was
this
on your trip.
Before all of that happened with Bobby.
Knew her. You knew her when?
I knew Bobby. I didn't know her, but we were mutuals. And then I didn't realize she was going on that trip. I went to that trip blind. I had no idea who else was going to be there.
Yeah.
Which is probably very naive of me, but I was like, I'm going to have fun.
Yeah.
I'm going to have fun.
Yeah, you're like...
It's so out of my comfort zone, but it was basically they invited a bunch of moms because this was for their campaign specifically targeting moms because it was ahead of Mother's Day.
Yeah.
And they wanted to pamper a group of moms. They said young moms, which I chuckled. I'm like, they obviously didn't do a demo study because I was the oldest mom there.
Were you really?
I was. Oh my gosh. A lot of them were not even 30.
What an honor.
I guess it was an honor.
Yeah.
But they
Asians
did
don't raise.
Yeah. They did the, no, you're 38. At the time I was 38. I'm like, how old do you think a 38-year-old should look like?
Oh my Lord.
You know?
Were they in their 20s?
Oh, some of them were in their 20s.
Wow.
Some of them were not even 30 yet. But so their whole campaign was for young moms to give them a weekend of pampering at Coachella.
Which you're like, yes, please.
Yes, please. Yeah. Actually, I wasn't yes, please. I had to get convinced by my manager. Like, this will be such a great experience.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because for me,
that's
it's
true for
we weren't getting paid, and we knew that. But
how about
I kind of like that because there was no hard content requirements.
Like,
it's like,
well,
we're just hoping you're going to
me.
organically share.
Yeah.
And that was probably that was a way they got around it too. I think to have all these influencers come, I think it was a very smart move on them.
And you sure nobody got paid?
When we were comparing notes,
that's
I don't think any of us got paid.
So you felt
but I don't.
pretty okay. So you
Yeah.
guys did
And
compare
even
notes.
so honestly, even if there were people who got paid, I was so like, I'm lucky to be here.
But that's not the right
know.
attitude, Jane.
Sheesh, I know.
Yeah,
But
I
that's
know.
just my mindset.
I know. Exactly. I mean, yet I know if something came my way, I'd be like, ooh.
We've talked about this before. I have no
Yes.
Yeochin.
Yeah.
I was like stressed out because the bed is full of swag, and I'm like, I can't take all this back. Like, how am I going to take all this back?
You're so practical. You're
and
just
I
like,
gave it away to like I don't have this type of hair. Like, do you want to use that?
Yeah.
But it's great. I'm still using. We got so much free shampoo. I'm still using it. And Ben's like, I really like that shampoo. I'm like, oh, I know it's too expensive. Like, I wouldn't buy it myself, but we're using it because it was
enjoy it
given to
while it
us.
lasts,
Yes,
buddy.
while it lasts.
Yeah.
But it doesn't last very long when we're sharing.
Yeah. So the Tarte trip, I mean, that was a while ago, but from what I remember, there was a creator, a Black woman creator, Bria, who I think was invited to this trip. And so, like, multiple influencers, right? But I think she compared notes and found out she was getting paid, like, significantly less. And she was being treated pretty poorly. So I think I don't know if she... This was a little while ago. I mean,
I think it was like last year.
Yeah. Okay, so in TikTok world, that's like
Eons
decades ago. Okay,
yeah.
so don't be mad if I get the details wrong. But she did not enjoy the experience, and she talked about it. So that was Bria. Then another creator comes along, and she goes, "Oh, you don't want that bag? I'll take it." And that creator was
do
Fanita.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Okay.
And she was like, I don't care. She was chuckling. I'm going to take myself on. And she was, I think, making videos about being on the trip and what a great time she was having.
So she also was one of the influencers on that trip.
She was the backup. Or basically because Bria made this video, they were like, I think they got another Black creator.
I see.
Now, Fanita is not someone you think of as a beauty influencer. From what I think she was just really funny, like sort of like Cardi B like energy. But I don't think her main bread and butter is like doing skincare or anything like that. Whereas I think Bria was more so. Anyway, she really flaunted that, oh, you don't want this bag? Then I'll take it, right? And then there was a lot of discourse happening about like, well, what Bria was trying to bring was for the culture, was for our community to recognize that we are not getting treated what our worth is in these spaces. And so for Fanita to be doing that at that time, but she was like, I don't care, right? And she's like, I'm going to do me. Now, I forgot that happened. And now Fanita also was a plus size girl, but she recently lost a lot of weight. And so some time has passed. Now Fanita's like, I didn't even watch the video in which this happened, but a lot of people are talking about it. So she was talking about, you know what, like, I'm so tired of not getting paid what our worth is. Like these Alex Earl bitches are making like heck of money. I'm only making 20,000 a post. She's making like 100,000 a post. And that did not land. Her community, her Black community chewed her ass out. Was like, do you not remember when Bria was out here trying to bring forth this situation, this very thing, but she's like new to, like, she's experienced. The sad thing about this,
she basically had that same realization that Bria had
in real
earlier,
time.
and I hate that she's getting chewed out for having
because
that
she's
realization.
only in her 20s.
Yeah, but I wish we could hold a little bit more complexity when.
Thank you. That's what I said.
Yeah,
I understand from the Black community's perspective is like, we told you.
I understand that.
Yeah,
I understand that. But people have.
But she's 20. Yeah. I think when
she had that realization.
Yeah.
Which is, she kind of had to come to it on her own.
But another layer of what people are understanding. The reason she came to that realization was she was a big girl. And she thought when she got skinny, she would be landing all these deals. And then when she didn't, then she realized she was Black. And people are like,
intersectionality.
yes. Did you forget that you were Black? Like, you thought that you were plus size first. So, like, it's almost like, but at the same time, you know, I felt for her in the, clearly this is a very hurt girl. She was a big girl, big Black girl who never got invited to things, who never got opportunities. So when she got that first tart as a backup to someone else dropping out, she took it and she laughed. But I think deep inside, it's like, when else am I going to get an opportunity like this? Yeah, I'm going to take it. I'm going to look out for me. I don't say it's right, but she's also, at the time, I think she must have been like 22, which is like super young.
Yeah.
And then to think that you could lose the weight, and there's like so many little...
Yeah, there's a lot of layers there.
She also likes white boys.
She's young.
I know.
She's young.
And there's like literally a video where like she's leaning to kiss a white boy and he like pulls away from her. And it's like so... People are like making fun of her, but I feel so bad for her. I mean, she said a lot of troubling things like, oh, you don't know what it's like. You're just mad because you're ugly.
I mean, you know, when I really hate that we live in an era where people just get chewed out.
Yeah, there's that Jane side.
You know, I hate that we're living in an era where, you know, I am that person that's like deeply skeptical when people talk about community online, because that community can turn on you just like that.
Exactly.
I realize that you do have a strong community because you have invested and you take the time to get to know people and connect with people. I have experienced so much, like a lot of vitriol from online and trolls, just from my time in news, that
you got trolls from, I mean, as a reporter?
I did, yeah, but that was very common. So I had a
what was
very
their gripe
different.
With you?
Oh, they're just always upset about news and you know how you know,
like
and
they can't just take the
news people.
Don't
I had
shoot
people,
the messenger.
I had yes, but you're you're literally like your face is there, right? So a lot of times they think it's
why are you
your
telling me
story.
this shit I don't want to hear?
Yeah,
oh my
it's
God.
like, you know, people don't, just like people are not critically consuming social media. People weren't critically watching local news when that was the thing on TV, right?
Right.
So, I had a very different relationship with social media in the beginning, like prior to TikTok. And then, you know, with virality and like increased followers, all that coming back and was like reminding me like, oh yeah, this is what it is. Like, I'm not surprised when there's, you know, a descending of trolls.
You're seasoned.
So, I mean, so all that to say, it's so unfortunate that you can't even share, you know, that these young creators,
so young,
say things that
of course they're gonna say things that they regret.
They're gonna say things that they regret because it's not, there's no transition. They're not saying it to
they're
like just their friends.
Up literally,
they're saying it to like their entire
fan base.
Fan base.
2 million, over 2 million.
Yeah, and then you have to, you know, they have to deal with the consequences of that.
I think from being outside of the Black community, I don't know if that maybe, I guess what I see is a young Black girl struggling in real time. Like, it's one thing to theorize what it is like out there for Black girls, but to actually go through it.
Yes. I mean, it's clear that she's going through it now, later, right? But I wish people didn't hold that against her,
Especially
and say,
because I
like,
feel
we
like,
told you so,
yeah.
or like, oh, now, because
look at young white creators. They get to like make gazillion. Yes, they get a lot of online hate, but it's not to this extent. I think your own community can be so critical of you. And I don't fault the Black community for feeling this way, right? Because when one person acts out, it's like it's like even in our Asian community, you're like, oh, don't disgrace your race. You know, there's like that burden that's placed. But the thing about that is, like, in order to succeed, you have to fail. You know, and you're not allowed to fail. And what I see in her is someone who's, it's really sad actually, who probably deep inside hates herself, but masks that or tells herself that she's so great. And you know what's funny is, like, when you were saying we get so critical, I mean, I too have those moments when I am critical of people or certain creators, which I've made quite a few videos of certain creators. But in those cases, I feel like I really check out if they should have known better. They're usually of a certain privilege. And for them to go that long in life and not recognize privilege that they are soaked in, they grew up wealthy, they grew up white, they grew up rich, or they've been around, right? Whereas someone like Fanita is this young Black woman really trying to fight against the idea that she should hate herself, but she does already. You know what I mean? It's like this, it's really sad. Anyways, that's what's that I have gotten like 100 different think pieces on this one creator from like all the different angles. And that's what's been on my mind.
Okay. That's where she is now, where she's just,
so I guess she's like continuing to rant.
Discrepancies.
Yeah, continuing to rant. And now trying to like pivot that people are just not. I think if, you know, we do not recognize the value in just stepping away. That's what I would love to tell.
You know, this is a choice.
You can, even if it's just a week, just turn, like, just step, don't make videos for a week. Like, can you do that? She can't. So she just keeps ranting, which is so funny because I just saw a little clip of an interview with, remember on Seinfeld, what's the did you ever watch Seinfeld?
I didn't really watch it.
Oh,
no.
But you know the character with the fluffy Kramer, the guy that plays Kramer, I think Michael something. Remember, he got canceled.
Yes. What did he get canceled for?
He was doing a set, and I think it was going poorly, and he got hecklers, and he went on a rampage, dropping the N-word with the hard R, and it was all caught on tape.
Groaning.
And then it went viral, and he was okay. But get this, that happened 18 years ago. Do you remember that? Did you ever know that it happened?
I think I did.
But can you believe that was 18 years ago?
No, I can't believe it.
I was like, 18? I felt like, I mean, maybe like if you had told me like 10, but close to 20?
Right.
Anyways, I saw this, like, I don't know where it was, like from Good Morning America or Today Show. It was a clip of interviewing him. And you know how like apologies, you're like, ugh.
Yeah, non-apology apologies.
But I remember him apologizing, and then he disappeared. And now they're talking to him again. This is 18 years later. And he looked, you know, like we're very skeptical of apologies, but he genuinely seemed profoundly different to me.
Wow.
Because the first thing he said, well, they're like, how are you now? He's like, well, that was 18 years ago that I canceled myself out. And that acknowledgement that he did it to himself, that was the first thing that I was like, okay, there is actual depth there. Yeah. That he recognizes he did it to himself.
Yeah. And then it takes time.
Yeah.
Right? Nobody's going to believe like you've done this work in a week, in a month.
And the way that he talked, you know, I told you that. I mean, you always know this, that I talk about, like, I'm big on energy, what people, and there was this sort of profound, such a shift in demeanor in just the way he was talking and reflecting. And he said, you know, I had to go away.
Yeah.
I recognized that there was this anger in me. I didn't know that I was carrying it. I didn't know where it was coming from. And I had to step away. It was almost, I mean, necessary. And I had to step out from the showbiz and really get away from it to really understand what this was. And it wasn't right. And I had to work on myself. And 18 years later, he's doing this interview. And I'm like, now see, that looks like growth to me. And so that, but Fanita's only 24. I think when you, and well, the other aspect is that he is someone that didn't grow up with social media. So he can just probably detach.
Sure. And he's not going to take that big a hit.
Yeah.
And
these kids that are growing up so in it.
Yes.
I don't know if you can just, well, actually we were talking about also, you were even considering stepping out, which is like,
I just don't know, like, where, you know, I mean, we're talking about in terms of being an influencer as a job.
Yeah.
Right. I'm like, I just don't know where, what my long-term goal is.
There is no end in sight.
No.
Well, you can't, in this landscape that's always constantly changing.
I don't think it's going to, and I don't think it's going to go away. It's constantly changing, but I think it's constantly happening.
Right.
So there's always like,
it's always going on.
I'm thinking like, I'm going to take a break. And then,
there's
like,
no
something else
breaks to be
down
had
the
because
line.
It's so fast.
It is so fast.
And you have to churn out, even when we make our episodes, it's like so much happens and so much gets talked about and so much gets covered. It's like, oh my gosh, that feels like we talked about that a decade ago.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
But there's no trajectory to be had that you can map out for yourself in this field because you don't know how it's going to transform. And right now, I'm not loving how it's going. We talked about that.
In general or for yourself? Or both?
Both. You and me, we kind of landed during, I really miss those days.
I do too.
You know, when it was so, we're like, what are these kids doing on this? What is this app? And it was so innocent.
It felt very innocent and less toxic. We were trying to find
something to do.
Yeah, something to do.
What is this app that's for the kids? What are the kids doing? And we stumbled onto it blindly. We had no objective. We had no deadlines. We had nothing to put out.
And we were all on there having fun
and
and making genuine connections.
Yeah, and, silly hypothetical talks. And
I don't know why it was so novel whenever I saw somebody in my, neck of the woods. But that's also why we became fast friends.
Yeah.
It's like, wait, what? Here's this person and we could actually be real life friends.
Right. And for that, I will always be grateful for this app because I found you and that's such a blessing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I miss it I know.
Too.
I don't want to be like that old person that's like, back in my day. But it's changed.
We were just like sharing tips, sharing things that we were doing, right?
Because TikTok wasn't trying to, they were trying to monetize.
It wasn't a marketplace.
Right.
Yeah.
But they hadn't figured it out yet. And now they brought out TikTok Shop and everything is about capitalizing.
Working with brands prior to all of this, actually, having TikTok be a place of advertising, working with brands prior to that was actually a very pleasant thing for me.
I know. I think that's why. Because you were one of the OG. Like, you did it. Actually, this is the way it's going is shit for you.
Yeah.
I
Is
mean, you
what
know
did you
what I
say?
mean.
Shifted or shit?
It's shit. No, in terms of like you had it
Because
good.
I literally I see it as a place of work. Like I
Right.
clock in, clock out.
Right.
I clock in, I go on there when I have to do something.
Yeah, but
and
now
then I come
everybody's clocking in
Yeah,
and
yeah.
becoming
The lines are blurred, and it's just not a fun place for me to be right now.
You're like the original Stanley Cup. And now there's all these dupes.
Oh, the Stanley Cup.
Do you realize you were like when few people liked it in the beginning
Yeah.
for the quality of the product.
And I'm not, I think I went there without any kind of calculation. But
Right, we
people
had
are
no
doing it. It's
motive.
become almost a formula now, and they're
Yeah.
doing it, and they're doing great. And they're not having these internal battles that I think I'm having,
Because
but
we started different.
yeah, I just don't like going on there and selling stuff is not my favorite thing.
Yeah.
If it's and just like you, I will only take things that I genuinely think that
you will use.
that I will use that improve my life.
Yeah.
Small things
That
in
you
small
actually
ways and
would
big ways.
recommend.
Yeah. Yeah. But it still feels like work and uninspired. And it
Yes.
feels very trivial in light of the things that I go to social media to seek. Now,
Yeah.
I always use social media as a place to connect. One, if it's like on my personal pages, it's a place to connect with real people in my life, or two, to learn. And to, learn about what's going on around me and away from me. So it's kind of like it's an information source, a news source, right?
Yeah. I remember you telling me like, I don't even know what to make content on.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, and we were talking about this,
I feel gross even saying that, because that was never my intent to go and churn out content.
Right.
Yeah.
And we got into this topic too because what's happening in Palestine.
Mm-hmm.
You and I talk about it.
Yeah.
For our listeners, we talk to each other.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're probably one of the person that I text the most.
Mm-hmm.
And as mothers, as just a human, of course, what's happening in Palestine is beyond heartbreaking. And I'm guilty. I'm very, very guilty. And I hate to. I know my mental health capacity.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot. It will really spiral me out.
Yes. And I think that's very important for you to acknowledge. I think for me, I feel very similar to you, because I have had these very down, depressive periods.
Right.
Depending on what is happening in our
But
world.
You're an Emmy-nominated reporter. And I
Mhm.
think that professionalism in you also like probably makes you make sure to be intact with what's going on in the world.
Mm-hmm.
But it weighs heavy on you because you're consuming it a lot more than I am.
Mm-hmm.
And when we were talking about this, it does seem whatever we say seems so trivial compared to what the Palestinian people are literally struggling to just have another day.
Yes. It's not a healthy place, because I log on to my Instagram or my TikTok and everything is all jumbled together. Like firsthand stories and video of what is still happening in Gaza. People begging to get help, evacuating.
Yeah.
Because they haven't been able to access proper health care, or therapies they need, like the most basic needs for months.
Yeah.
And then I scroll and it's an ad.
Right.
Sometimes it could be my ad.
It's like
I don't have control over.
Oh my
That's
You've
that's
seen your own ad?
No, I've seen my own ad once, and it was when Bennett was scrolling YouTube Shorts.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's
I'm
that
not saying
like?
that happened. Well, for him, he was intrigued.
Yeah.
Because
That's my
I explained
mom.
like this is, and he was in it with me because it was for a Ritz
Oh.
ad. But I mean, that's the kind of world we're living in.
We are
right? And
like a Black Mirror episode.
Yeah, it's
real.
Yeah. And it's really affecting me because
Yes, I've
I
noticed.
see it when I wake up and when I go to bed. And, it's not like your life stops. You're still living your life and having to show up in all the various ways that you show up.
Yeah.
And right now I'm like heavily involved with what's going on in our public school system.
Right.
And so I've just been in this like advocacy mode for a long time.
Trying to save your school.
Yeah.
But
And
that's
it seems
also
so
looking
trivial.
right.
And it's
Like,
really
how do we
hard to
balance-
hold. It's so hard to hold all of that. It feels like do I even get to log off and have a weekend with
Yeah.
my family? And
Yeah.
in those days, I don't even want to go online. Like I don't want to. And then I have like the Sunday scaries because I have to open up my email and I have to see like what deliverables I have or what is approved. And it's
call
like,
it
I
the
don't know.
Sunday scaries?
It's the Sunday scaries is what my
Wow.
corporate friends call it because
Wow.
yeah.
My gosh.
Yeah. It's
I can
rough.
feel
It's
it.
hard.
Yeah.
It's nowhere hard. I say that knowing full well that I'm like a person who's we have all the privileges and comforts
I know.
in the world.
We
it's just-
often always
yeah.
remind ourselves
Yeah.
like, wow, this is a privileged position to say.
Mhm.
And it's like so hard to make sense of this world right now.
Yeah.
We also have a convicted felon running for president.
just
This
lay
is
it
a
on,
shit show.
right? Lay it on.
How do you navigate? The world doesn't feel real.
No.
And I think that I sense, but you usually, I feed off of other people's energy, and I can feel this heaviness.
I know. I'm so
No.
sorry.
You don't have to apologize. It's just the state of the world.
Yeah.
You're a real person. But what was funny was like, I was like, oh, so Jane, like, how should we promote or no? You know, the funniest thing was when we had a slightly, not even really viral. It had like it was a video short that was like 6,000 views, which is nothing we know in the overall metrics.
Yeah.
But for us, who averaged like 200 views, it was something.
And having done this for as long as we have, Ellen, like we always know there's a reason why this
We're
video.
like, what happened? You and I both were like, what
happened? What was
and then we
it?
go there
Did I
and
have
it's
a
like
booger on my face or something, you know? It's always like the least expected thing.
We're like, is this something? What was it? And then it turns out it's these bros that hate it. It was
in
literally
true social media fashion.
Yeah.
It's something that they hung onto.
Talking like 20 seconds at most, like, girls' trips are hard. And then there's these bros like, girls' trip? Just say you want to be divorced already.
It said girls' trips are hard, especially for me. It got harder, especially after I got married and post kids, because it's a very intimate thing to go on a girls' trip.
I think in that episode we talked about like, how do we get childcare?
Oh, yeah.
And then these bros are like, just say you want to leave your man already.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, Jane, they think you were in Joyride.
But after that, I was like, oh, I have no desire to, it's, I was like, I don't even want to look.
Yeah. And so I was like, what do you mean? What's going on with you? Because you're like, I don't even know if I want our clips to go viral. I'm happy if we just have 5 listeners.
I'm happy with the 2 people that DM us and say, thank you so much for talking about that.
That goes a long way, though. Those
it does
notes,
go a long way.
Yeah.
I'm so happy with, just my friends, Okay, you know what? I really appreciated when my real friend, I don't want to say real and unreal, but
Real life.
real
In
life
real
friends,
life
real
person
life
you
friends.
know.
Yes, person I know outside of, here, when they listen.
Yeah.
That to me is like, I'm so appreciative
And
of
I
that.
love that you cherish that.
Yeah.
Like, I think, honestly, let's be real here. We don't make money with this podcast. We spend money to make this podcast. But it brings us joy.
It does.
And it makes
And
us...
that's the whole reason why we started this.
Yes.
Because it really was a place for us to have our voices, because just the capitalistic nature of doing social media and stuff is, it becomes more and more a place for capitalism and less that's why I think we're so hesitant to.
We are hesitant.
We could go full speed and do like promo clips of this and boost it and whatever, but
we don't want to turn it into this thing we start to feel like is work.
No.
Yeah, because this is a safe haven for both of us.
Yeah, and for me, it's a place of releasing and healing, processing.
I love processing with you.
And it also is by way of putting it out there, it's a way to invite others kind of to do that with us.
Yes.
So that's something that I feel cannot happen if we just become viral overnight.
Yeah. So you like the slow growth.
I do like the slow growth.
Because we are going at a snail pace.
Yeah. And it's okay.
She legit is like, I love it. I love our 5 listeners.
As long as we can afford it, then, we will. And even if we can't afford it, we'll just do it like on our iPhones at home.
Well, this is our almost like our therapy session.
Yeah.
Yeah. When we talk, I feel my soul is lifted with you. Soul Sisters! Yes. Oh, that was actually one of the ChatGPT names that was... and I said,
telling you.
Ew, no. But it's true.
Yeah,
True. Are there already a podcast called Soul Sisters out there?
I don't know. We'll have to look into that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
We were so quick to reject it. I was like, ew, no.
I use it a lot to, help me come up with descriptions for our episodes, and
the ChatGPT
just helps to get me thinking. It helps fight that writer's block.
I think also you're using it correctly, but there are kids out here using it to write their whole essays. Did you see the kid that gave the valedictorian speech and he copied it word for word?
From what?
Another valedictorian speech?
Oh,
Bro,
no.
why? Why would you need a ChatGPT to write? I mean, I get it. But like you said, you inspired me with a few words, not word for word. This bro took word for word, copy and pasted another kid's valedictorian. You're valedictorian.
I know.
Sorry, that was another thing.
It makes me like, how did you become valedictorian?
Oh,
I know.
Jane is so quick.
I knew people in high school who, well, I can't say knew because I don't know if it's like confirmed, but people who got into very prestigious schools and like rumors that they cheated the system. So it's like, were they smart for doing that, right? Or,
I actually just talked to...
I didn't have strong feelings about it because...
a doctor who is like a professor at in race studies, I think, in one of the universities, and she was like, Ellen, a lot of these people are just dumb. They got in here somehow, but they are really not intelligent. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. A lot of them, I'm sure, paid their way. I mean, hello, remember Felicity Huffman going to jail?
Yes, that's right. Oh my gosh.
Oh my God, facts.
Whew.
Sometimes.
And I thought for USC. Was it for USC? I can't remember.
Yeah, I'm like, for that school? You paid that much for that? How bad were your kids?
I don't know.
Oh my God. So
we
sad.
have a different idea of what is like prestige though. We really do. We're not white. We're not,
I think they just didn't want their kids to be embarrassing. The bar was so low.
Yeah, I think when you have that much money and power, you just feel entitled to wield it however you see fit, you know?
It's wild.
Yeah.
And
it's like, what do I have? What do I have all these means for?
Yeah.
Of course it is to back up
what
my
yeah,
kids.
if I'm
not saying that's what I believe.
right.
I'm saying that trying to put myself in their
but
shoes
like,
a little
if
bit.
you have all the
And then
money in
there's
the world.
So as outsiders, we see that and we're like, oh, what were they thinking?
Yeah.
Right? But then
when you live in such
when you live
excess,
that, you're like, yeah, it's just what you do.
If you in a way, if you think about it, like, why wouldn't you use it on your kids to better their lives? Air quotes,
right.
Supposedly.
Yeah.
But anyways, I think she's out now, right? I'm sure. That was, if the Seinfeld scandal was 18 years ago, that was probably 10 years ago.
Time sure flies.
We gotta get back to our things because time flies. On that note, bye.